All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today. Bittersweet moment for all of us, certainly here at the club. Brad's going to open it up with an opening statement, and then we're going to go to questions. Just please raise your hand, and I'll call on you. Some level of decor. Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to start off by thanking you guys for all being here. It's obviously an emotional day. I appreciate you guys always not only covering me, but covering obviously the team, the club, always showing your support for Atlanta United. You guys certainly have played a huge part in making this club what it is in terms of notoriety. And so from myself and just everyone with the club, thank you guys for always showing your support for the team and for the club. I appreciate it. And happy to take some questions.
Doug, go ahead.
Why now, and what's next?
Straight into
Woodworking,
it.
golf,
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's as I mentioned, it's been an emotional couple of weeks, emotional couple of days. I think as a player, as a professional player, and when you've been doing this for as long as I have, you always feel in your heart and in your head, that you can compete forever. You can play until you're 50, 60 years old, and I still feel that. And with the conversations with my wife and my family, my kids, they believe in me, and they love watching me compete and be on the field and being a part of the team. And when you look back at the conversations being had, the sport, any professional sport, but certainly soccer, nobody outlives the sport, and the sport ultimately wins at some point, and at that moment, it's the decision was made, and in terms of what is next, I don't know. I really enjoyed my time on the other side, where you guys are during the summer, during the Club World Cup, in the media side of things. I certainly hope to stay involved with the club, and obviously, as I've mentioned before, Atlanta United has become home, and the city of Atlanta is home for us, and so yeah, yeah.
As competitive as you are and have been, was there any thought to not going out with a season like this one, to coming back for one more year to try to get a trophy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's no secret the year's been terrible. You always want to go out on a high. You always want to finish on a positive note. But sometimes, the thing about being a professional athlete is you don't always have control of everything around you, as much as everyone on the outside might think. And so, yeah, you certainly, you always want that storybook ending. The season we had, like I said, it wasn't good in any sense. But unfortunately, us as players, you don't always have full control of everything.
Madison and Jose.
For starters, just thank you for everything that you've done for the club and for the city as well. Talking to Jonathan Ransom yesterday, talked highly about you, a player that he looks up to you, especially as a keeper. For you, how important is it to give advice, to be someone that a lot of these young keepers within the club can look up to?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been fortunate throughout my career to have senior goalkeepers, senior players to ask questions to, soak up as much information as possible, just be a sponge really in every sense of the word. And as you get older, you start to see that, and listen, at some point, right, you're not always going to play. You're not going to play forever, and at some point you end up having to pass that baton on, and you want to be the guy that can be helpful and can help younger pros, one, find their feet, but then two, try and help them break in and say, right, I'm gonna make a career out of this. I'm gonna make a living out of this. And when you look at the young goalkeepers that we have, when you look at someone like Jono, and in terms of not only himself as an individual, but his family, his parents, and then what he brings on the field as a competitor, it's encouraging for someone like myself to see how he approaches training, how he approaches the game, and when as a senior player you see someone like that coming through, it's exciting, because to be 17 and be where he's at. I mean, I was nowhere near that in terms of readiness, in terms of being in an environment like we have here. And I tip my hat to all of our young pros that are just starting their journey.
Jose and Reggie.
Brad, how important is it being like fatherhood and family along your career? And the other one, if you could go back in time and give an advice to yourself when you're starting at Chivas USA, what that advice would be?
Yeah, I mean, listen, being a dad is the best thing. As a kid, I wanted to be a professional soccer player, and being a dad is the best thing ever. Being your guys' dad. Oh my gosh, man. Oh man. Being a dad is the best thing. Nothing compares. And they have been there since day one of their lives, supporting me, traveling the world. The days I come home hobbling through the house because my body's sore, mentally I'm frustrated because it was a bad game or a bad training, I'm still dad. And for that, I'm forever thankful. And, seeing the smiles on their faces, if it was up to them, I'd be playing till I was, 100 years old. And so there's no greater joy than being a dad. We've got the 4 best kids. My wife, Bree, she has, put up with me for forever. And she has been on this journey just as much as I have. And she's been there every step of the way. She has been so supportive in every way possible. And without that support, I wouldn't be here, and I certainly wouldn't have had the career that I've had. And I can never say thank you enough to my wife and to my kids, because they're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And this decision has been just as hard on them as it has been on me. And what I would say to myself, going back to 2005 and being drafted, and I still remember on draft day not knowing where Chivas USA was even located. I was just excited to be a professional. I was excited to hear my name called in the draft. And it was a moment that will live on in my memory forever. And what I would say to myself is just continue to chase your dreams. I wasn't supposed to make it. I was never in the youth national team setup. I was never one of the top guys. It was by perseverance. It was by hard work. It was determination. It was listening. It was all the things that you need as a pro to hopefully get your foot in the door, and a lot of luck that came with it. And it was a moment that allowed me to approach the door, and with all those things I mentioned, I was able to kick that door down and walk through, and here I am 21 years later.
Reggie and Doug.
Right, Ashley, you're going to have a lot more time on your hands now. What's maybe the most, talk about your family, your kids, maybe what's the most excited thing that you'll be able to finally have an opportunity to finally do with them now that you've got more free time on your hands?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much free time I'm going to have, to be honest. Again, kind of sifting through what's going to be next. But, as I was telling my kids, we were talking about, going to more youth sports, more soccer games, more softball games, baseball games, flag football games, gymnastics, dance classes, and just being there and just, for me, there's no greater joy than being a dad. And I love the fact that I'm able to go to their events now. Obviously, every other week, right? You're missing things, but to see their joy, to see their excitement, just running around with their friends and following their paths and their journeys, and whether that's in sports, whether it's out of sports, schoolwork, just being home and giving my wife some more downtime, because it's not always easy, especially with 4 kids, trying to get 4 kids in 4 different areas on a weekend when I'm laying in a bed in a hotel, preparing for a game on the road.
Doug, then Allison?
Was there a moment in training session or game or sitting on your umpteenth airplane when you decided, I'm done, that season's in?
No, you talk to former teammates, friends, colleagues, and they all say, "Oh, I knew this or I knew that," and I didn't have that moment. I never felt physically I feel good, mentally I feel good, and it was never one moment that said, "Yeah, this is it," and I think that's why it's emotional, it's hard, it's all the things. But there wasn't one moment where I said, right, that's the time. This is the time,
When did it happen? When did you make the decision?
It's been an ongoing conversation over the weeks. I couldn't tell you exactly the specific time. It's been ongoing, but as I mentioned, nobody outlives the sport, outlives the game.
Allison, and then Marcel?
It's kind of a related question, but what will you miss the most about playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you miss the camaraderie, the banter in the locker room. I'm a competitive guy, and I think the competitiveness of that, whether that's in the front yard, saving shots from these guys, playing basketball in the driveway, coloring worksheets and workbooks and whatnot. Like, it's the competitiveness for me and the brotherhood of going out onto the field and competing with guys to try and get a result. And you're representing not only yourself and your family, you're representing a club, you're representing a city, you're representing a fan base. And so for me, that part is one that is hard to replicate if even possible. And so I think that part for sure.
Marcel and Sid?
What's the reception been like from your fellow alumni now, from your former players and coaches at Atlanta United and maybe even with the U.S. national team, just the reception you received from your comrades since your retirement?
Yeah, I mean, the outreach and the support from former teammates, from former coaches, from support staff, from medical staff, it's been overwhelming, to be honest. The comments of support and the comments from social media posts and all these things, from fans, fans of Atlanta United, fans of other teams that have talked about the respect and how I approach the game. And for me, that part was super emotional as well, because you don't think about that, and when you're playing, you don't think about any of that stuff. At least I don't. It's not why you play the game. It's not what it's about. But you want to be looked at as somebody that was a competitor, somebody that said, "Hey, we always disliked playing you because we knew what we were going up against." And for me, that's you try to put your best foot forward every time you step on the field, whether it's training or in games, and to then see that support come from the opposition, other players from other teams, club staff, coaches, near and far. I've been very fortunate, and my wife and I we've watched the videos, looked at the comments, read the comments, and you think back on the journey that we've been on and throughout this whole thing and going all over the world and having the experiences that we've had. And, it brings a smile to your face because I was living a dream and that part's never lost on me. And for that, I'm extremely grateful.
Any one or two stood out that maybe a surprise or something you didn't expect to hear from?
And anyone from, I think I saw a picture the other day from probably under 7, under 8 back in, my hometown of Homer Glen. As my wife mentioned, David Beckham obviously reaching out, it's and everyone in between. And it's certainly exciting. It's cool to have that recognition. I'm very appreciative of that, but it was always for me about how do you approach the game, how do you make your teammates better, how do you make the team better, and it was never about kind of the outside noises. You guys know I've always given you guys a hard time, but it was never about kind of what was on the outside. It was always inside those 4 walls of the locker room.
Sid and Doug?
Like I'm still upset about last year, or
No, he just passed along his congratulations, and just really supportive, and I can name a bunch of people that reached out. Like I said, from this side of the pond to the other side of the pond, and just extremely grateful for all the support. And again, you don't anticipate that outpour of support, and so for that, I'm really grateful.
you mentioned earlier just the importance of senior players pouring into younger players like you're doing with John. I'm sure with Jaden as well. Who was that for you? Who are those older players that poured into you over your career?
Yeah, when I first got to Chivas, there was a goalkeeper legend down in Mexico, Martin Zuniga, someone I still speak to today. He calls MLS game for Apple, and someone that I call a friend. And then obviously I left Chivas and went to Aston Villa, and when I was at Villa, I had Brad Friedel. And so then, I'm starting to break in with the national team, and, he's older than me for sure, but not, not too far, but someone like Timmy. And these are all guys that I call friends to this day. I still speak to them, and I'm grateful for their support. I'm grateful for their guidance when I was coming through, because it's not always easy. And I've also seen the other side of it where guys weren't like that towards younger players, and I've seen how that affects younger players, and you never want to be that guy.
Doug, Jose?
Kind of a two-parter, but what do you imagine tomorrow morning is going to feel like for you? And is there always something you've wanted to do in a training session that you've never gotten to do that you want to do tomorrow?
No. And what I envision tomorrow being is, and again, this is, just kind of who I am, but it's a normal training session, match day -1, and prepare. And as bad as the season's been, we can't affect what's happened in the past, and all we can affect is what happens on Saturday and how we approach Saturday. And it's not going to mean a whole lot, but at the same time, we've got fans, we've got supporters, and we owe our best to them because they have stood with us throughout this season, and we owe our best to them. And so tomorrow is a chance to prepare for Saturday in the right way, and that's what we're going to look to do. So as much as I'd like to score a hat trick or a bicycle kick, I don't know if my body would allow that. It's back to business, and we need to try and prepare for Saturday, because on Saturday there might be one kid who this is their first time at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and their first time going to see Atlanta United, and we want to leave an impression on that one person that, hey, I want to come back and I like watching Atlanta United, and now I want to become a lifelong fan, and that's our responsibility as players, as a team, and as a club.
A few more, Jose, Allison?
Brad, how do you want fans to remember Brad Guzan, the goalkeeper? And the other one, if you were to choose, what song would you like to choose to play when you walk off the pitch on Saturday?
How do I want to be remembered? I mean, as a competitor, as someone that gave everything for his teammates, everyone, gave everything for those around him. As someone that could be counted on. I was certainly not short of any mistakes and whatnot, but somebody that was able to be resilient and bounce back and continues to fight. And, if guys were going into battle, they look back and they said, hey, I got Brad and we're going to be okay today. And, it's just as much as on the field is off the field. The club has done a fantastic job in the last week, and the support staff and communications and the media team, they have done a unbelievable job, and they had a few surprises. And for me, the platform of a professional athlete is not just about what happens on the field or on the diamond or whatever the playing surface is in whatever sport. It's how do you use that platform for good? And sure, social media expands that platform, but the amount of outreach that this club has within the community, and for me to graciously be a part of that and just get a glimpse of how I've been able to impact a handful of people within the community, that will for sure live on, I hope, longer than anything on the field. And it's a privilege to be able to have that platform, to be a professional athlete, and you have to accept that responsibility, because you don't get to pick and choose what parts of being a professional athlete you want. And when things are good, that's fantastic, but you also have to face the music when things aren't great. And you've got to be able to stand up to it, be truthful, be honest. And so for me, as I look back and how do I want to be remembered, it's a fierce competitor, someone that could be counted on, but also somebody that was able to put a few smiles on people's faces off the field as well.
What about the song?
The song, sorry. I'm not a music guy, to be honest. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should be my last song on Sunday? We've got a few walk-up songs for baseball that we've got a playlist that goes through the car. But I don't know. Maybe I'll let these guys choose. I don't have one off the top of my head, but we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it as a family, and I'll get back to you.
Allison, then Maddie.
Has Parkhurst or anyone reached out and given you like how to manage retirement? Any advice on that? And then two, is there a favorite memory or story from your career, your season, that you're like, I'm not going to tell this story until I retire? Like a favorite moment or something now that you can tell us, or?
The first part, spoke to Parky, spoke to a bunch of former other teammates that have retired. Parky, of course, had a little jab as his first text to me, but I think the text was quite simple. So soon, it's, but it, I don't know in terms of how to manage it, right? And everyone's different. Everyone kind of goes on their own little journey, their next path, their next chapter, and what does that chapter look like? But I think when I look at those guys and, I see him playing golf and he comes by the hotel and he's a little out of shape, and I'm thinking, geez, Parky, just let yourself go a little bit. The jabs go both ways. And so I'm sure we'll have a little bit more free time for more texts, more calls, and just enjoying life in general. The stories, yeah. I don't know if I can I don't even know if I can tell those stories now, to be honest. We'll keep those for a book down the road. No, I honestly, it's that's the part, when you ask about what are you going to miss, right? It's those stories. It's it's the banter, it's the camaraderie, it's the crazy little things that happen in a locker room when you see these guys every single day for 11 months out of the year, and they become a second family, and I'm still waiting for some of them to volunteer to babysit. Some of them are closer to in age to my kids than me, but it's been an unbelievable journey in terms of just being able to have those laughs, the jokes, the stories. It's been pretty special.
But winning the cup, was that your favorite moment, do you think, being Atlanta United?
Yes, sorry. Of course. I mean, I think, again, somebody said to me, they asked about just like, oh, do you go back and watch this game or watch these highlights? And I said, sorry. The story was, have you watched MLS Cup back? Have you watched your save back? And I said, no. I said, I've never watched MLS Cup back, because for me, it's not about what happened, and I can't, the outcome was great. It was exciting, but I never sat back and watched it. I've seen clips of the save, of course, and whatnot, but I never sat down and watched the game start to finish, because for me, it was always the next game. It was always the next opportunity. And I think when I look back at MLS Cup, yes, we were celebrating in the locker room. We had Arthur in there and Josh and the smiles and just the joy that was in that room in that moment. That's what every team starts out looking for at the beginning of every season. And that's the goal. That is the ultimate goal. And only one team is going to experience that. Only one team is going to have that joy, right? And in that year, that was us. And that brotherhood, the memories, the friendships, the relationships, all of that is something that carries on with you forever. And we are forever attached to this club through that trophy. And for me, that part is amazing when I think about that in general.
Us too, Maddie and Doug.
Yeah, you were really involved in the community elements with the club too, not only just at events, but also ambassador for the unified team too. For you, how important was it to be so involved with the club, not only for the stuff on the pitch, but also off of it, in the community, with the fans, with every other team associated too?
Yeah, I think when you look back at Atlanta United, right, and in terms of the support, and I remember watching games in England for the first couple months before I came, and I was thinking, man, the atmosphere, the stadium, just everything that is about Atlanta United, those first couple months, I was like, that's something I want to be a part of. I can't wait to get there in the summer, and it's going to be amazing. But with that, right, we're all trying to build something, and with that build comes the unified team, comes the support from the community, and you need to be able to develop those relationships, and whether it's the fans to the team or the team to the fans, and it goes both ways. I've always said that, and so for me, when I was coming in, the unified team is something that I was and still am very passionate about, because I've got a soft spot for kids, and anything involving kids is something that certainly touches my heart. And my wife always reminds me that you don't know the impact that you can have on somebody just from a picture, an autograph, saying hello, and you always want to remember that in terms of the platform, as I talked about. But the unified team and just the community in general, showing their support for Atlanta United and the club from the early days. And listen, nobody knew what to expect because it was new for everyone. And it was the community, it was the fans, it was the supporters that made Atlanta United what it is. And we're just individuals that are going to come and go, but it's the supporters that will be here forever.
Are you going to join us as a third analyst on the unified?
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm not doing assistant coaching, so.
What'll be the perfect way to go out Saturday? A win, shutout, no shots faced, or a win?
Happy days.
shutout,
No.
15 shots?
Absolutely win, shutout, no shots faced, job done, call it a day. That would be the ideal scenario.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah.